I've been working for a delivery company for the last couple years. The money isn't bad, but it means long days and late nights. Last year, coming up to Christmas, there was a night that I will never forget. I had finished delivering the last parcel after a particularly long day. It was late, and I was exhausted and thought I was going to fall asleep, so I pulled up to a gas station to get coffee. It seemed pretty quiet, and I was the only one there besides the shopkeeper who was chewing tobacco on the bench outside. The second I stepped outside the car, the shopkeeper looked me up and down and said, "You ain't from round here, are you?" without breaking eye contact. No, I'm not. I live in the city. I was just delivering a package a few miles up, just getting a coffee before I head home. Well, it's a bit late to be around these parts, ain't it? It's a busy time of year. Christmas is around the corner. I guessed as much. Come on inside and let's get you that coffee. He poured a liquid that seemed to resemble tar rather than coffee into a paper cup. I picked up a donut from a wicker basket and grabbed a $5 bill from my wallet. As I was doing so, I heard a loud bang coming from a door behind the counter. What the hell was that? Oh, that's just my dog, Jeremy. He gets all lonesome when he's locked up all by himself. Well, that's a haluva big dog you have there. Yeah, it's a fine dog. Good at hunting. I don't suppose you go hunting often, seeing that you live in the city. I've hunted pheasants once or twice with my Uncle Johnny. Never really liked it. Guess I just don't have the stomach for seeing dead animals. Whereabouts do you live? I told him the area, and as I did so, he just stared at me and nodded his head. Yeah, I know the place you're talking about. I've been there once with my friend Carl, who was getting some supplies for the farm. When we went, I remember going down a road in the middle of the forest. Brought us right up beside the highway. This was just what I needed, a shortcut. Where is this road you're talking about? Just as drive on the road that you was on for about 20 minutes, then you'll see a little dirt trail. Follow that little road and it'll take an hour off your journey. Wow, thanks. I best be on my way now. I began to wonder how I never saw it before. I handed the $5 note. You better mind yourself. It's dangerous around these parts at night, he said while I poured the bitter coffee down my throat, wincing at the taste before walking towards the car. After about 20 minutes of driving, I saw the turn off. It was almost invisible unless you were looking for it. After about 2 miles of potholes and puddles, the engine began to splutter before cutting out. I got angry and smashed my hand into the horn in frustration. Then I went to check the engine, slamming the door behind me. Clouds of smoke came pouring out from the bonnet. I tried to open it, but when I touched it, I burned my hand. I was stressed. Now I had to wait for a tow truck to pick me up. I heard a growl, then a loud bang followed by footsteps running towards me. I was afraid it was a bear, so I ran into the car and squeezed in behind the driver's seat so it wouldn't see me. In the distance, about 20 feet in front of me, I heard the gravel crunch. Something was walking on all fours towards my car. The sound of the steps got louder and louder until it was right outside my passenger door. My curiosity got the better of me, so I slowly turned my head. It was a moose. I was relieved and let out a little laugh and sat up. The moose was looking in at me, but then it suddenly jerked its head around as if it heard something in the forest. But before it even got a chance to move, it was dragged back into the dark cover of the forest. My heart jumped. What creature could even do that? It was a bear that's strong and fast. Whatever it was, I wasn't too eager to meet it, so this time I crouched back down even further. My muscles were getting cramped, and I could feel the ligaments on my thigh stretch. It was extremely painful, but I was afraid if I moved, the creature would have known I was there. My body practically cried out for me to move, but I didn't want to alarm whatever took the moose. I was in pain and was about to stretch, but then I heard a massive thud that caused the car to shudder. Something was on the roof. I could feel my heart pounding against my knee. I heard it moving around above me before jumping off and running away. I let out a sigh of relief. It was gone. Bang. Something crashed into the windscreen, sending glass flying all over the place. I wiped a few shards from my face and looked up and saw the moose head dripping with blood. Something must have ripped it clean off. its antlers wedged into the window real good. There was a strong smell and I could feel vomit seeping up my throat. I scrambled back to the other side of the car. Something was dashing around inside the forest. I saw a blur leaping towards me before the car wobbled aggressively. It rammed into the door again, then again. I thought it was going to break through. Then there was a light coming through the back window. I heard a gunshot followed by an ungodly scream. I felt dizzy. My heart was racing faster than ever before. Then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital room with a blurry figure standing over me. You feeling it right there, pal? It was the shopkeeper. My head is killing me. Where am I? Hospital. You were driving home and you had a little accident. It was lucky I found you when I did. There was nothing really wrong with me, apart from a mild concussion, so they released me from hospital the next day. Everything was fine after that. I assumed everything that happened was a bad dream, and that there was no creature. But after about a week, I woke to something pounding against the front door at about 3 a.m. I got a fright, so I grabbed a baseball bat from beside my bed and slowly made my way downstairs to see what was going on. I opened the front door. I stepped outside to look around. I looked down and felt the familiar feeling of vomit creeping up my throat. The same pair of lifeless eyes staring at me as that day in the forest. This time, the moose's antlers had broken off. The face was more decayed and had insects and larvae crawling out from the mouth and ears. Whatever I saw that day in the forest must have been real, and whatever was there followed me home. I don't know how, and I don't know why, but it has targeted me. I hear it outside at night, stalking me and running around outside. I don't know when it's going to strike, but tomorrow I'm going to grab a taxi to the gas station and get the shopkeeper to tell me what the hell is really going on. This all happened a few weeks ago. I managed to make it back to this dimension alive, but only by the skin of my teeth. I really need to find a new line of work. I didn't want to be a delivery man. Nobody chooses this life for themselves. Nobody grows up with the dream planted in their mind that they want to be the world's fastest pizza guy one day. Driving around in a beat-up jalopy with the smell of pepperoni in your nose. You know what sucks the most about it? You know that smell of delicious, fresh-baked pizza that makes your mouth water when you get a pie delivered? When you're a delivery guy, you just get to sit in that smell all day, and then you don't get to eat the pizza. You just get to smell it and let your mouth fill with saliva, thinking about how you wish you made more money so you could afford to buy an extra large with all the toppings, garlic bread crust, and a side of hot wings with blue cheese dipping sauce for good measure. That's where I was at mentally as I sat in my shitty car, my battery slowly dying as I listened to the radio and enjoyed the last little bit of light afforded by the headlamps. Tow truck's gonna be here soon, I kept telling myself, smelling the pizza in the back seat. Any minute, the tow truck is gonna be here. I rolled down the window and stuck my head out, craning my neck to see into the distance behind me. The smell of the fresh autumn night air filled my nostrils and replaced the cheese and hot baked dough and tomato sauce. At first I thought there was a pair of headlights, but then whatever it was blinked out of existence and disappeared like the glowing eyes of some great cat. I rolled up the window quickly, shivering from the cold draft as it filled the car. The address was supposed to be right here. I had actually been idling while I checked the directions on my phone. The GPS confirmed that I was where I was supposed to be, but there was no driveway, just untouched forests surrounding the road, as far as the eye could see. Somehow I had run out of gas, despite my tank being half full. When I checked the time, it was as if I had been daydreaming for hours, like I had been in a trance while looking for the address on my phone. The sun had gone down at some point, and it was well past 11 at night, the moon overhead glowing an eerie pumpkin orange. That was when I had called the tow truck. But it seemed as if they weren't coming. Confused and bewildered, I got out of the car and looked around, wondering if they had gotten lost. I pulled my phone out and hit the redial button for the towing company. But this time, All I got was static, as if whoever had picked up the phone was in a different dimension, separated from me by a wall of entropy. The brush on the other side of the road suddenly began to rustle and sway, as if something were moving behind it, trying to stay hidden but too large to manage that successfully. "Hello?" I called out, hearing the quiver in my own voice and wishing I sounded braver. "Wishing I were braver. Who's there?" Another sound came from behind me, and I spun around to get back in the car, terrified of whatever was stalking me so far out in the middle of this night, black forest. But the car door slammed shut as I bumped into it with my wide hips. Too many hours of sitting and not enough sit-ups. Too many undeliverable pizzas eaten in parking lots for half price. Too many years of not taking care of myself taunted me as I grabbed the door handle and tried to pull it open, but found it locked. The keys still inside, jammed into the ignition slot, mocking me. The rustling sound came again, and this time it was from behind another tree, and another. Movements were heard on all sides as my eyes darted back and forth from place to place, seeing huge, hulking shadows hiding behind the trees all around. "Who's there?" I nearly shrieked, my voice high and breaking. "Stay back! I've got a gun!" I didn't have anything of the sort, but it was the only thing which came to mind that could potentially ward off threats of such size and terrifying proportions. A shadow began to emerge from behind one of the trees, and another came from behind me. I heard their huge, lumbering footsteps coming closer, as their features became discernible in the waning light of the moon. Their faces were obscured by the shadows of tree limbs and broken boughs above us, the half-air branches shedding leaves like dead tissue falling all around. The warmth of one creature's hot breath was in my face as I stood, petrified, nowhere to run. My back was pressed up against the cold steel of the car, the window glass squeaking against my skin as I trembled with fear. Sharp, long, hooked, and pointed teeth grated together as gray lips pulled back into a grin. A mouth as wide as a windshield opened up as if to devour me, its pointed tongue salivating and dripping. And then it surprised me by speaking, its voice a rumbling baritone, deep enough to shake my teeth in their sockets. "Are you from Domino's?" it asked, spraying me with fine droplets of spittle. The acid burn of them sizzled on my cheeks. I ordered 8 large pizzas to this address. My hand was shaking badly as I hooked a thumb towards the back seat. There, I managed to stutter, locked by mistake. There was a heavy, deep-sounding sigh, as the creature was clearly annoyed by my amateur actions. But instead of eating me as an alternative, he smashed the window with his claw and reached inside, removing the boxes. A bit cold." The thing said, sounding irritated. "You look to be warm-blooded, though. Your blood might make for an interesting marinara." A screeching roar came from the woods, and the creature huffed and let out a sigh. "Yes, Mother. I suppose we should leave him alive. Otherwise, who will deliver way out here?" He began to stalk back into the darkness of the forest, leaving me behind in my soiled and warm, wet pants. It is so hard to find good help these days. You really must bring back that 30-minute guarantee. We used to get so much free pizza in this dimension. "What dimension?" I called after the thing, looking around with confusion at the forest of trees whose branches now whipped and coiled like angry snakes. How the hell was I gonna get home? I looked down and saw a $50 bill was laying at my feet, with the head of a monster in place of President Grant. Shit, not again. At least these guys tip better than last place. I deliver for a restaurant in town. Angelo's Pizza is the name and some of the best pizza in town they have. The nights aren't always busy and I have a few minutes to kill here and there between deliveries, so I bring my laptop to work. Music, writing, and the occasional chess game usually fill the gaps rather well. It is a Saturday night, and, surprisingly, it isn't too busy. around 0 p.m. A delivery is ready. My boss hands me the food and I walk out the back door to my car. My short 7-minute drive is fueled by the delicious aroma of fried mushrooms, Canadian bacon pizza, and monotonous screams of the Black Dahlia murder, which gives me a short adrenaline rush and hypes me up the last stop of the night. I arrive at the address. It's the Heritage Inn, the only hotel in our town of only 9,000. The place is located on the edge of town and is a casual-style, 2-floor hotel with a not-so-vibrant, dull appeal. The building is made up of regular drab bricks spaced with normal boring windows every few feet, and the roof is shingled with a dark brown. At night, it looks even duller, and tonight, the parking lot is next to empty, but is filled with a few half-dimmed light posts, giving it an unnerving feeling. The feeling that makes me want to strategically place my car keys between my fingers just in case. I pull up to the entrance, which has the most appealing feature to the outside of the building, a 9-aft overhang. I enter the hotel through the single door, then into the concierge's room. I go up to the girl to let her know I'm heading up to. I struggle to read the smudged writing. Room 101, I tell her. To the right of the desk is a door leading to the most eye-catching feature of the entire hotel, the pool. It looks magnificent at night when it's vacant and calm, with the dim light reflecting off the water onto the beige walls. It's an almost surreal and eerie environment, and yet it seems so inviting. I go down the hallway past the out-of-date vending machines and past the dark, noisy laundry room. The hall is long and not very brightly lit, like everything else it seemed. Fortunately, the door to the stairs is soon after the laundry room, directly to the right. As I'm walking up the stairway, I can't help but think about the story I heard of this very same hotel. Whether it was factual or just a story, it still gave me a bone-chilling feeling. A murder took place here. One of the maids went on her daily walkthrough, to which room I do not know, and found the sheets of both beds soaked in blood. The police were informed, but no one was found in the room, nor were any bodies discovered in the hotel. There was more to the story, but I couldn't remember anything, probably due to being semi-terrified of the naturally frightening atmosphere the hotel had to offer this night. Either way, all that kept passing through my mind were images of a corpse rotting away under some bed or under the floor. I'm near the top of the stairs and I see the room number 101 through the glass window. A feeling of relief passes over me, knowing I won't have to go down the next darkened hallway. I open the door into the hallway and stand in front of the room. I look around me at both ends of the hall to reassure myself that I'm alone. I knock on the door and I wait a few seconds as I carefully balance the pizza and bag with one arm and the order ticket in the other hand. I hear a mumbled voice approach the door. As the door slowly creaks open, a man appears. An instant flashback to Jurassic Park races in my head as the man bore a striking similarity to John Hammond, both age and appearance being around the age of 60 with white hair, a beard, and a rounded face with glasses. The man is on the phone and opens the door all the way. He makes a waving gesture informing me to come inside. As I get a good view of the entire room, and just as I'm about to take a step into the room, I notice something that is in no way in the realm of a normal hotel room, and I abruptly halt my stride. 3 people in total I see. The first is the John Hammond doppelganger at the door, who is now seemingly pretending to talk on the phone as he hides his head behind the door. The second is a woman who could possibly be a girlfriend or wife of the old man. She seems like she could be in her 50s. She is sitting on a chair directly across the room from the door, looking up, watching TV in the corner of the room. The third is a girl who I am 100% sure is within 13 to 15 years of age, lying on her stomach on top of the bed. This is the part that unsettled me. Aside from panties, she is not wearing any clothes, and as a total stranger is at a wide open door, she makes no effort to conceal herself or even acknowledge my presence. She didn't seem to realize or care that she was half naked, almost like she was drugged. I then notice the woman on the chair as she is periodically looking over towards me, totally aware of the situation. Then I noticed the man at the door who, at least 2 minutes after I arrived, is still looking through his wallet behind the door. Or so I assumed that's what he was doing. I got the feeling like he was stalling. He hangs up the phone and apologizes to me for the wait with a raspy, very creepy voice. I tell him the price and we exchange the food for the money. Between the exchange, I notice the girl on the bed turn to face me for a second. It's at this brief moment I was able to stare into her eyes. They seemed vacant and void of all emotions, like they had been stolen from her, like she was lost. She turned back to the TV without a single change in her face. The man notices as I look at the girl, then turns and looks at her, then back to me. He stares at me for a few seconds and asks me again, "Are you sure you don't want to come in?" He said it with such a large but noticeably fake smile. It scared me and plunged me deep into a feeling of dread as my heart dropped. It was one of those moments where you know without a doubt that something is not right. Right would be an understatement, actually. This moment felt like an eternity of darkness overcame me, like some evil entity was piercing my soul. We made our exchange, nothing more was needed. What did this guy want? I firmly declined his offer as I shook my head side to side. He stared at me. The woman was still on the chair looking at me and the girl was not moving on the bed. He said, still smiling, "All right then. You have a good night." And he closed the door. I stood outside the door for a minute. I think I was in a momentary shock. I put the money in my pouch, then headed back down the stairs. I informed the girl at the front desk of the situation, but I don't think she took it as seriously as I did. Maybe I didn't explain it well enough for her. I exited the hotel and got into my car, then began driving back through town. No music this time. I needed a quiet moment. I decided, for whatever reason, to call my mom and explain the situation. I explained the delivery from hell to her, and she hastily told me, "Hang up and call the police." I did so, but got no answer. I called my mom back and said I couldn't get through. She tried calling and I waited. It's been 2 days since that delivery. I apparently had a message on my phone, but didn't receive it due to phone trouble from the police who were returning my call. They were interested in hearing my story and seemed pretty concerned. All the probable scenarios, both within reality and exaggerated, that could have happened that night have been swirling through my thoughts. Did I make a choice that could have possibly saved my own life, and could I have indirectly witnessed the beginnings to a sadistic murder? 4 years later now, and I always think about what could have happened to that girl. What if she was found dead 50 miles away, and I never knew about it? Could I have done more to help her? Did she even need help, or was that whole night just one sick misunderstanding? I wonder what would have happened to me if I had gone in that room. I have visions of needles, knives, blood, and cameras running through my mind. What were those people doing?